Hello there and welcome to the It's Not the F1 Shutdown Anymore Ted's Notebook. And look at those beautiful roses coming out, because if you want to get racing, it's a wonderful week. Because where are we? We're in June and we should have had, what, 7, 8 races by now, going to Baku, going to Canada, but instead we've had no races at all. But now we've had announced that the F1 season is about to get underway. They are smelling beautiful, and motor vehicles are authorised once again. All the F1 factories are back in action after the 63-day shutdown, and we're off. I've got the press release here. Let's go through it, because if you haven't heard already, Formula One... Oh, hello. You're right. Formula One announces the opening 8 races of the revised 2020 calendar. Formula One has today announced the opening 8 races of the calendar following the postponement back in Melbourne in March. And that seems an age away, and it doesn't seem an age away, if you see what I mean, seeing that we haven't actually done any races. But March, April, May... yeah, they were long months, weren't they? But a Formula 2 and Formula 3 opening race calendar has also been published, with the full details available on the Formula 1, Formula 2 and Formula 3 websites. So there's the usual blurb. Formula 1's been working closely with everybody. Thanks very much. Everyone's very happy about that. And we're going to start in Austria on the 3rd to the 5th of July. Due to the ongoing fluidity of the COVID-19 situation internationally, we'll be finalising the details of the rest of the calendar, the wider calendar, and hope to publish that in the coming weeks, with an expectation of having a total of 15 to 18 races before we complete our season in December. So we've got 8 races that they say are definitely going to happen, and then potentially between another, what, 7, 8, 9, 10 after that, which will be impressive. As stated previously, we currently expect the opening races to be closed events with no fans, but hope fans will be able to join our events again when it is safe to do so. I don't know what that will look like, but I'm hoping really that that is something that can happen soon, because the drivers and, well, us, the TV, it's not the same if the fans aren't there, but needs must, if you know what I mean. The opening calendar will include holding 2 consecutive events at the same circuit 1 week apart, as well as a number of back-to-back events. The health and safety of all involved will continue to be priority number 1, with Formula 1 and the FIA having a robust and detailed plan in place to ensure our races maintain the highest level of safety, with strict procedures such as distancing and masks and testing in place. So here is the revised calendar. July 5th, the Formula 1 Rolex Grosser Preis von Österreich. So that's the first one is the Austrian Grand Prix. Now July 12th is the Formula 1 Grosser Preis der Steiermark. So for the first time we have the Steiermark Grand Prix. So now we have the answers to what these extra races are going to be called. Now Steiermark, the green heart of Austria, so says the advert, is the region of Austria that the Red Bull Ring, Zeltweg, Spielberg is in. It's all been approved by the Austrian government. The health minister confirmed that. We are still waiting, it seems, on proper final confirmation from the local council, which is the Murtal. The area is the Murtal region, because the river that runs through the circuit, or rather the valley of the circuit, is called the River Mur, and there's a town called Murau further down the valley. So the Murtal region have to have the final okay, but we're not expecting that not to be given. So the second Austrian Grand Prix will be the Steiermark Grand Prix. Then a week later, so it's a triple header, we go to the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is only a 4.5-hour drive from the Red Bull Ring. So it's unclear whether everybody is just going to get in cars and go across the border. I don't know whether the border is open. I think they are now. Or whether they're going to pack up from the military base at Zeltweg and actually fly. So we'll see what happens there. But it is only a sort of 4.5-hour drive. So it's the Hungarian Grand Prix on July the 19th. Then it's a week's break. And that is possible now because Formula One has an exemption. It seems that somebody did have a word with Boris or the government, and they have made an exemption for elite sport, not just Formula One, but elite sport of all kinds. And what that means is that the British-based teams, anyone based in the UK, will be able to go to Hungary, go to Austria, come back, and not have to go the 14 days in their homes where they must stay, so that they can go to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And without that exemption from the government, I don't think this calendar would have been able to be released today, because Silverstone wouldn't have happened without a very lengthy workaround or having sort of two teams of crews, and you'd have to have two teams of drivers, wouldn't you, which wouldn't really work. So anyway, it's very important that Formula One eventually did get that exemption, notwithstanding that the rest of us probably we're going to have these air bridges by the end of June, and by July maybe that quarantine won't apply to everybody coming in from other European countries. But anyway, so there's the British Grand Prix on after that week's break on August the 2nd, and then a week after that, August the 9th, is the Formula One Emirates 70th anniversary Grand Prix. It's not the 70th anniversary of Emirates. I think the airline is, talking of airlines, a plane. Unusual sight these days. An A350. Anyway, it's not that Emirates are 70 years old. I think they're a much younger airline than that. It's that Formula One, of course, is 70 years old. I think the first race of the Formula One name back in 1950, and it's 2020 now. So it's going to be called the welcome to the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone. And then a week after that, we go in the middle of August, August the 16th, Scorchio to Barcelona, Spain. And having the Grand Prix in Barcelona in the middle of August is going to be really different. It's going to be hard on the tyres, it's going to be hard on the engines and brakes, much, much hotter in Barcelona in August. It'll be glorious, won't it? A real punisher on the cars, much more so than they would have done, than it would have been in May and April, when the Spanish Grand Prix would have happened. Then it's another week's break after the Spanish Grand Prix on August the 16th, where we have the Belgian Grand Prix on August the 30th, which was its original date, and followed by a week later, so another double header, another back-to-back, with the Italian Grand Prix in Monza on September the 6th, again in Monza's original date. So that is it. That's the first 8 races. What Formula One aren't confirmed. Oh, we got a quote from Chase Carey. In the past weeks, we've been working tirelessly with all our partners, the FIA and the teams. We're pleased to be able to set up and opening races, blah, blah, blah. Look forward to publishing the full calendar in the coming weeks. I want to thank every promoter and partner for their support and ongoing commitment to Formula One. While we expect this, While we currently expect the season to commence without fans at our races, we hope that over the coming months, so it might be just a matter of months, the situation will allow us to welcoming them back once again. But if it's only the coming months, how are you going to distance in a grandstand, and then you've got to sell tickets, you've got to give people sort of proper notice, haven't you? So I think it might be a bit, months is about right, isn't it? But we know the return of Formula One will be a welcome boost to sports fans around the world. Absolutely right, here's Chase, because, as Christian Horner said on the F1 show on this channel on Sky the other day, we're all racers, aren't we? People who like this kind of thing. We're racers, and we want to get going and want to see people racing. Not to mention the financial health of all the teams depends on getting racing once again, because we've got some teams, got some news for you on Williams and McLaren, that they really need to get going because finances are in difficult states. But before we get onto that, a bit about the procedures at the races. So what's going to change? Looks like we're still going to have the 3-day weekend. So we're going to get there on Friday. We're going to have free practice 1, free practice 2 on Friday. There aren't going to be any press conferences on Friday afternoons, or if they are, they're going to be done by Zoom video conferencing. All the teams are going to remain as kind of families in individual sections. The teams aren't going to mix together. There'll be no motorhomes. The teams are going to eat in the facilities from the Red Bull Ring in what would have been the Paddock Club, I think, upstairs above the garages, but they're not going to intermingle. And then there's going to be Saturday, free practice 3 and qualifying. Sunday morning, no drivers' parade. I don't see the point of drivers going around waving to absolutely nobody on a flatbed truck. Shorter grid presentation, because again, that's really for TV and for show. So I don't think they're going to have the lengthy grid ceremony that they do. Are they going to have the Austrian national anthem at the front with all the drivers? Yes, I think they are. What are they going to do when it's the Steiermark Grand Prix? Well, I think they'll probably still have the Austrian national anthem. What are they going to do for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix with a national anthem? I don't know. Maybe we can have the Formula 1 theme music with a live drummer or something. Or Rule Britannia, I don't know, guess. You can have your own ideas what anthem they can do for these other ones. But yeah, possibly no drivers' parade, possibly less time on the grid. And then they're on the podium. That'll be weird, won't it? I was thinking about this the other day. What are they going to do on the podium? And there was some sort of rumour that they'd have, 500 fans in the grandstand to give a kind of podium feel, or a bit of someone for the drivers to wave to, apart from their own mechanics and engineers and anyone else who's in the pit lane who's a part of the operational crew. But I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. So the procedures are going to be different. What else? Yes, these tests. They were thinking about testing out these qualifying race proposals, trying a reverse grid for qualifying. For a qualifying race to set up the grid for the second Grand Prix of those races that are going to have a double header, such as Austria and Silverstone. Christian Horner said on the F1 show that he suggested this, and that it went down very badly with Toto Wolff and Mercedes, who thought that it would unfairly influence the integrity of the championship. And many of you will think that Toto Wolff has a point. I think a nice compromise is that we do it, but it's a non-point scoring race. If the results of a reverse race grid set a grid for a race, then it should be non-championship. We should try it, see what it's like. If you're assuming Mercedes are fastest, and we can't assume that, Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton at the back of the grid and saying, all right, look boys, off you go, let's see how far you get after 30 minutes, where overtaking can be difficult, depending on what track you're going to, then let's make that a non-championship race, because I think that would unfairly interfere with the integrity of the FIA Formula 1 World Championship, TM. What else? Right, Williams. I think you'll want to know this. So what is going on? Well, they posted their annual results and they showed a £13 million loss because they're at the bottom of the Constructors' Championship. They're not doing particularly well, so they get less money. And they announced that they're looking to sell a minority share or a majority share, or possibly sell the whole team as a last resort to keep the team afloat. And that's a real shame for Williams, because the budget cap and the aero handicap system, where the lowest placed team in the championship gets more time in wind tunnels and more time to try out different things on their car, is really going to help Williams. So this comes at the worst possible time. This kind of cash crisis for the team does come at the worst possible time for them, because these are the rules, the new rules that are coming in, are the rules that teams like Williams have been waiting for. So they don't want to sell the team if they don't have to, but they are seriously looking for investors. Claire Williams said on our program the other day that she would like to stay involved. It's my passion. Paul di Resta, P. Diddy, did ask her, well, look, it might mean the removal, if someone does buy the team, obviously, the removal of the Williams name, and it might mean that you're not in charge anymore. And Claire said, well, yes, I accept that, but, I would like still to be or involved, because I've got a passion for the sport. But worth bearing in mind that, Williams is, it's listed, it's got shareholders, Brad Hollinger, Patrick Head, Frank Williams himself, all shareholders. Then the rest of the shares are floated on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. So you could have someone coming in and buying, as they said, a minority share or a majority share. Dmitry Mazepin, maybe, Nikita Mazepin, the young driver's dad, He's not short of a bob or two, and it might provide a place for his son to get into Formula One. But I'm not sure whether Nikita Mazepin has got a super license yet. I think maybe if he does well in this year's F2 championship, then Mazepin will get a super license, but we'll have to see. But the thing is that Williams don't have a billionaire owner. So like Racing Point, who've got Lawrence Stroll, and Haas, who've got Gene Haas, they are billionaire owners. So they can afford to run these teams and to put them as kind of, well, as certainly as Racing Point's concerned, junior Mercedes teams. Williams never went down the junior team route, but they don't have the financial support behind them to make it happen, whatever. So I think that's the point, really, rather than were Williams wrong to base their business model about overdoing absolutely everything, gearbox, everything themselves, apart from the engine. Just keep a distance. From everybody, was that the wrong business model? Well, maybe it was, but what didn't help Williams in the end was because they don't have a billionaire owner yet, of course. So the other thing going on is the title partner, sorry, the sun has got my eyes. Rocket. So there was their title partner, and it's strange because they make phones and drinks and stuff like that. Strange because they had just re-signed. They just confirmed again, had Rocket, for another few years. So the fact that Williams have broken off means that, or they've ended the partnership, means that a contract must have been not fulfilled somewhere, and we're only left to guess what had happened. I mean, maybe Rocket wanted to see the logo on the cars in races, and there aren't any races so far, but we don't really know what's happened. But clearly a contract hasn't been fulfilled somewhere, obviously, otherwise they would still be the sponsors. But Rocket say that they're staying with their sponsorship of other motorsport as well. Renault, let's move on. They are staying. There is good news this week because Renault are staying in Formula One. Clotilde Delbos, the new CEO, confirmed that despite loads of job cuts elsewhere in the company and factories, car factories, they are going to carry on with the racing outfit in Enstone and Viry-Châtillon for the engines, because it's good technology development, and if they get the budget cap right and the sponsorship right, it can actually be completely break even, cost neutral, or actually bring money in. And that's the idea of the new cost cap, to keep those costs down. And we've got things like standard parts coming in. Well, we haven't got standard parts coming in. It's an interesting thing with the new rules, which you might have seen already. But they're going to make some elements open source, because the teams were worried with standard things coming in like brake calipers or dampers or things that, underneath the or gearboxes, for example, underneath the cover, the fans can't see. They're not really visual differentiators, so why spend so much money on them? Well, if you spend a lot of money on them, make them light and good at what they do, they can give you lap time, rather than have a standard supplier, which the teams didn't like because they would lose control over that. They're going to make the sort of industry setting, whatever they are, dampers or gearbox casings, open source. So everybody can copy them. There'll be no point actually putting resource into developing them, because everybody will have the designs to make their own. So that's the way they're going to get around that. But with all of that, it looks like Renault can stay in F1 for now, which is really good. Fernando Alonso, Cyril Abiteboul said he is an option, as are other drivers. So that's exciting that we might get Fernando Alonso back in Formula One. But with Renault, does he really want to do that? The old matador fighting for wins and podiums and world championships with a team that's midfield at best at the moment, and with the pink Mercedes Racing Point coming back into it and maybe being the best of the midfield. Is Alonso going to be fighting with Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll for the latter places, trying to get on the podium? Is that what Alonso wants? Well, maybe it is. It'd be great to see him back in, but I'm not quite sure whether he wants to do that. But Abiteboul confirmed, the Renault boss, that Alonso is an option, as others are. Right, McLaren. What's going on, McLaren? Well, it's been a horrible week for them because they've had to announce something that no company wants to announce, which is they're going to cut a quarter of their workforce. 1,200 people they're going to cut from their workforce. That's huge, including around 70 from the race team. Now, why are they doing this? Well, Andreas Seidel, in his quote, gave a clue to why they're having to do this. He said, adjusting the way we work and right-sizing the team to the new budget cap is a massive and painful task. So two things on this. First of all, McLaren are certainly seem to be the sort of canary in the coal mine about this. They're doing what all the teams are eventually going to have to do, but McLaren are doing it first, just like they did with putting staff on furlough before this the COVID situation. All teams are going to have to make redundancies. McLaren are doing it first. That's the first thing. Secondly, right sizing, and that's the point. The thing about McLaren is that it might have a grey exterior and it might look unfriendly from the outside, or maybe it did in the Ron Dennis era. But it's true, the thing that you might have heard, that when you get inside the team and get to know people, it's actually a very friendly place, and it's actually a very nice place to work. So I'm told by people who work at the McLaren Technology Centre, and certainly when you go to the MTC, there are a lot of people working there. So I think they're still sized as a big team. And as Andreas Seidel says, they need to right size. So people have been staying there at McLaren over the years, since they've been a big team with big numbers, because it's a nice place to work, good place to work, and they have to right size the team for the new rules and budget caps coming in. So that's why it is happening, but hopefully they can do that. 70 people from the race team, 1,200 from the whole group, with voluntary redundancies, without compulsory, but we'll have to see what's happening with there. You might have seen also some more rumours about Toto Wolff maybe leaving Mercedes. These tend to be sort of continuous rumours based out of Germany about whether Toto is happy in his role. We saw in that interview he did that he's talking about how the lockdown, the shutdown, has given him time to reflect and grow as a human being. I wonder whether he fancies a new role. I think there's no doubt that he's probably going to stay at, covering my bets there. I think that he is probably going to stay at Mercedes, but not necessarily in the team boss role. Maybe he'll think there's a sort of higher role that he could do, and then let somebody else take over the sort of day-to-day team principal role. James Allison maybe, or their chief operating officer, who they did an interview with on the telly, on their YouTube channel the other day. Rob Thomas, I think he is, or we'll see who would take over. Lewis Hamilton, good team principal. Anyway, or Toto will just continue as he is, but they are having discussions at the moment. Mercedes deny that there's anything in these rumours and say that they are unhelpful. Right, what else have we got? So we've got the new rules that you might have seen with the aero handicaps, and just in brief, they as well as the parts, the open source parts and the budget caps, they're going to give the lowest place constructor more wind tunnel time than the winners of the Constructors' Championship, and this allows them to try out different things, to give them a little bit of an advantage. What's it going to mean for the racing? Probably not that much, because the FIA, as the FIA's Nick Tombassis confirmed to us on Monday, this aero upgrade system, or the aero handicap system, is not a massive skew. He said it's not a massive skew to the lower place teams. It's just giving the smaller, less resourced teams the opportunity to catch up with their midfield and their championship leading rivals by having a little bit more time. It's between sort of 7 and 10 hours more time a week in a wind tunnel. That's giving them an opportunity to try different things. Of course, the big teams will still be able to try out the stuff that they want. They'll just have to be a bit more disciplined with what they do, because they can't just put anything into a wind tunnel and try it out with, teams running wild with their imagination here and there. So it's that's really what it is. Right, what else is going on? Yeah, we've got the rules here. They're all on the FIA website. It's probably too long to go on, but the freezes. Oh yes, limitations to power unit upgrades. they're only going to be allowed one new spec of engine upgrade per year, which I think is interesting. So if you're stuck with a not great engine at the start of the year, you might actually not be able to get yourself out of that particular bit of trouble, which might affect some people more than it will affect others. But we will see. They're going to cut the downforce a bit next year just to keep these things under control and to help the tyres as the engineers find more downforce. And the weight increase, the minimum weight, goes up for 2021 to just under 750 kilograms, which won't please some of the drivers, but anyway, they want to do that. What else is there? Sporting regulations. There are provisions for closed and open races, depending on whether there are crowds or not. And well, you can see them on the FIA website, or we've done a piece of them on the Sky Sports website. But yeah, that's the headlines from that, which just leaves us with a couple of things to clear up. First of all, I told you the story about the Formula E racer Daniel Abt getting a ringer in to do the virtual sim racing for him. Well, it seems like it might have cost him his drive, because Audi weren't happy about it, and it looks like they've parted ways with poor Daniel Abt. So that's a salutary lesson for us all. Right, that is it. So we have plenty to talk about this week. There'll be more next week, but watch out for Crofty's quiz. That's on every night this week. I think I'm on the one this evening. In fact, it follows this programme. Is the who can be the brain box of the Sky F1 team. And well, I won't spoil it, but I'm on a team with Martin Brundle and Natalie Pinkham, or rather they're in my round, and well, it's not me, but you knew that already. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.